All right, Maoli School. We're ready for you. We'll continue to have some renditions of some patriotic songs, continuing with the Ghana Police Band. Thank you very much.
National Education Forum calling. Let your voice be heard on education in Ghana. Send your inputs to the National Education Forum Planning Committee via NEF.
Mahama. Shall we all resume our seats? Thank you. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, Minister of Education, His Royal Highness, the Agbogbo Mafia of the Asogli State, traditional rulers here gathered, friends in the educational sector, good people of Ghana, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure this afternoon to welcome all of you here to the Volta Serene Hotel, where this afternoon, as a collective and as a people, we are going to reshape the educational sector of our nation. The Educational Forum is under the theme Transforming Education for a Sustainable Future. Clearly, we are at a crossroad when it comes to these kinds of decisions that we make in this sector. And clearly, education, which is a foundation of our nation, needs to be reworked so that the future of our nation is secured. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our gathering here is the doing of the good Lord, and therefore it's a good time to say thank you, especially for his bringing to us the first gentleman of the land safely, as he was engaged earlier at the presidency, attending to other matters of state, one of which was to officially launch the Declaration of Assets and receive the Declaration of Assets form. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, respectfully, I'd like to welcome here to the stage the Catholic Bishop of Ho, who also serves as the Vice President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Ghana, to help us with a word of prayer. Shall we welcome Most Reverend Emmanuel Kofi Fianu? And of course, we all do know that the Catholic Church is a big participant when it comes to education in this country. Reverend.
Thank you, MC. May we all put ourselves in the best position we like for a moment of prayer. And we pray in the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, your psalmist said, if you do not build a house, in vain do its builders toil. We thank you this morning for gathering us here for this National Education Forum. We thank you for the traveling message you granted to all of us, particularly to our President. And as we gather to think about how to transform education for a sustainable future in our country, Lord, we ask you to send us your Holy Spirit. Let this Spirit inspire us, give us good thoughts. Let it give us the courage to say what we need to say about our education. Give us the courage to see what is right and to say it boldly so that we can transform our education to the best of what we all desire. Grant all who are here today and those who will be participating in this forum in various moments the presence that we all desire to have of you, so that you will guide us and you will give us the help that we need to be able to go through all this. Grant all this through your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Amen.
Thank you very much, Most Reverend Emmanuel Kofi Fiano, for the opening prayer. For the introduction of our chairperson and other guests, I'd like to bring to the stage a member of the National Education Forum Committee. Let's welcome Professor Smile GC.
Thank you, Kafui. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President of the Republic of Ghana, the Honorable Minister of Education, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, the Honorable Volta Regional Minister, Honorable James Kunu, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Togbeo Mamao, a man of vision, wisdom, and strength. He walks the path of kings, yet dreams beyond thrones. A bridge between tradition and progress. His hands build what history will remember. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am humbled and honored to introduce to you His Royal Highness, the chairman for today's August function. I'll need a full day to introduce His Royal Highness, but since we don't have time, I think a key highlight of his accomplishment will surface. Togbe, a former president of the National House of Chiefs and a member of the Council of State, holds an MBA from Yale University and a BSc Administration from the University of Ghana. He also taught financial accounting and accounting theory at the University of Ghana Business School. He was a member of the President's Economic Advisory Council from 2009 to 2012 and the government transition team between January and March 2009, during which period he chaired the Economic Committee and was head of the Ministry of Finance Management Team. Togbe is a founder or co-founder of several companies, including my favorite African World Airlines Limited, Accra World Trade Center Limited, Sinon Asogli Power Limited, Strategic Initiatives Limited, SNAS Finance Group Limited, SAS, and Data Bank Financial Services Limited. He also established the Asogli Education Fund to support schools nationwide and brilliant but needy students. I think he needs a big round of applause for that. Togbe established the Asogli Education Fund, which supports brilliant but needy students and makes donations to other education funds, secondary and tertiary educational institutions. He is also accredited for the renovation and modernization of the National House of Chief Secretariat in Kumasi. He also built the multi-purpose Accra Heart of Oak Sporting Club Academy. Togbe, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, is a recipient of many awards and recognitions, including Ghana's Greatest Entrepreneur of All Time, the Meritorious Award Sports Writers Association of Ghana, Ghana's Most Outstanding Chief of the Year, and Ultimate Man of the Year Awards, August 2018. The Magnet Award, the Golden Image Award, several awards. If I want to mention, I will not be out of here. He also currently serves on the boards of other institutions and companies, including Accra Heart of Oak Sporting Club Limited. Do we have full BNC here? Your chairman is here. He also chairs the Chamber of the Independent Power Generators and Sign Global College, the great institution, and the World Trade Centers Association in Ghana. I want to mention that Togbe is a philanthropic and development worker, and some of his work includes donation to institutions and organizations like our own University of Health and Allied Sciences Endowment Fund, and victims of the tidal wave destruction in the southern Volta region. Togbe also funded a lot of notable projects, including a $300,000 scholarship at Yale University School of Management to honor the memory of his mother. I want to conclude by saying that to a man whose legacy is deeply impactful, to a man who has made desolate lands fruitful, Togbe stands as a testament to leadership with purpose, a guardian of tradition, and a champion of progress. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, it's my great honor to welcome to the chair Togbe Apede the 14th, the Agbogbo Mefia of the Asogli State. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic, our distinguished Minister of the Region, Honorable Minister of Education, other Ministers of State, Members of Parliament, our Reverend Ministers, Togbe and Mamao, distinguished invited guests, and our friends from the media. It's a great honor for me to welcome all of you here this afternoon, and special welcome to His Excellency, the President, who we are honored to have in Ho for the second time in a matter of weeks. I welcome all of you, and I thank you for coming. Your Excellency, you have not declared to us that you are in a hurry. But it's very obvious to us that you are in a big hurry. And we thank you sincerely. I want to commend you once again for the speed at which you are working. You've more than hit the ground running, and we are very impressed. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are here this afternoon to launch our National Education Reform Forum, and I'm very privileged to be chairman for the occasion, and I thank the organizers for choosing me. I want to commend our Honorable Minister of Education, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, for also hitting the ground running. I admire his running start. Only recently I read that he was chosen as Minister of Education in order to be disgraced. But he has proven that he started a run before he was even nominated. And I'm very impressed that so early he has been able to put this very important program together, dancing to the tune that His Excellency is playing. We have been celebrating what many of us regarded as our second independence. We've been doing so since the 7th or the 8th of December. But of course, we all know that independence is not an end in itself, unless it comes with what people desire, which is development. We would have labored in vain. Development is what people desire, and that was what inspired the founding fathers of this nation to fight for freedom out of colonialism. And we had high hopes, given that we had very enterprising men and women, and also we had abundant natural resources, more than our fair share of what the world has. Unfortunately, we have not done as well as we had expected. Poverty has been our lot for many years. And it's been attributed to many causes, among others, our educational system. So many people believe that education is a way out for us, a way out of poverty. Indeed, the most important factor in the production of goods and services and the growth of an economy is labor, or human capital. Our collective attitude, skills, and problem-solving abilities determine the performance and productivity levels that we achieve. Accordingly, all expenditures related to training and development of our people are investments in productivity and are investments in the right direction. Indeed, low level of human capital development is usually mentioned as one of the reasons why our country is lagging behind our Asian counterparts, the usual suspects, Malaysia, Korea, and etc. I'm glad that the manifesto of the NDC recognized the place of education in our development. And indeed, that recognition is an honor to the vision of our founding fathers who desire development for our people. I'm happy that the NDC program for education aims at its transformation in order to make it accessible, affordable, and also enhance its quality so that it can prepare our people for the task ahead of assassination in the 21st century. And I'm also happy that as part of their strategy, that's the NDC strategy, the government strategy, they want to get the people involved. And that's the community engagement, which is why we are gathered here this afternoon. The relevant education for our purposes is one that will equip our people with the attitudes, the skills, and the problem-solving abilities that will enable them to succeed and to become the agents of change that our nation is in dire need of, as opposed to custodians of the status quo. We want to build for our purposes, for our future, for our development, agents of change. But of course, Education, by its very nature, requires constant reform because it has to respond to the needs of the environment. Our education needs to improve to ensure that it facilitates the realization of our national desire for enhanced living standards. And in today's rapidly evolving world, education system typically lags behind, hence the need to revisit it, take it around, and make sure that it responds to and meets our needs. For the best outcomes, it is important that we understand and keep in mind the diverse and interconnected forces that drive change, because those changes impact on our needs and therefore determine how relevant our educational system is. And some of the forces that demand change in our educational system are worth noting. The first one is globalization. We all know that globalization breaks barriers, breaks boundaries, and therefore requires various actors to collaborate across borders and across different cultures. It means relearning and therefore re-strategizing. We also know that we're in a technological age where technological advancements is changing all aspects of our lives. Particularly relevant to why we are here in the educational sector, we have seen how technology has brought on board digital platforms that are supplementing, if not displacing, the in-person approach to learning and teaching. That's why there's a need to emphasize, as the government has been doing, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education to prepare our people for the technological future of the 21st century and beyond. We also are aware of social changes, notably demographic movements, movement of people from various parts of the world to others, which mean that often we have to deal with populations that are very diverse, that include Europeans, Americans, Africans, Asians, and etc. So that also requires that we keep modernizing or changing our education to adapt to the needs of our society. Of course, globalization and its demands, technological advances and its demands, social change and its demands also mean that we have an evolving workplace demands, which means therefore that in today's workplaces, we are looking for people, men and women, who have the creativity, the imagination to be able to adapt to the changing needs. And it is important that any reform keeps this in mind so we can create people who are very dynamic thinkers, who can be creative, who can adapt to the needs of the changing work environment. Your Excellency, also very important are the policy changes that reforms have to respond to. Notably, in our case, we have had a recent major change that has introduced the free high school system. And of course, we know it came with its various challenges, mainly because there was so little preparation done before its introduction, which leads me to look at it sometimes as a sub to Cerberus. I know that you understand that, you know. In Greek mythology, Cerberus is a many or multi-headed dog which guides the gates to the underworld in order to prevent the dead from leaving. So when you want to leave the gates, you have to give something to Cerberus, like a little bribe. So the rash introduction of the senior high school, free senior high school, sometimes looks to me like a soap. And so the need for a lot of reform, hence commitment to reforming our educational system. We have to remember from what I've said that the world is undergoing constant change. Globalization bringing change, technology bringing change, social changes are prevalent, and so we have an evolving workplace demand. That means, therefore, that we have to equip our people with skills that will make them relevant in today's world, that will make them adapt to the constantly changing environment. What it means is that there is only one constant in the world, which is what? Change itself. It means, therefore, that we must not only equip them with the specific skills and knowledge, but more importantly, the values that will enable them to adapt to change. Most notably, the capacity for critical thought. We need an education system that liberates the minds of our people and make it possible for them to appreciate change and create the necessary responses to change. Tomorrow, or the world, the future, belongs to thinkers, those who have the imagination to create relevant solutions. So we need to develop people who have the capacity for critical thought, those who can think, as opposed to, as I said earlier, custodians of the status quo. We have to teach our people to understand, therefore, that education is a never-ending process. If you're able to think, be creative, and be adaptive, you must constantly learn. But it requires also that people have ambition. We have to build in them ambition, that desire to be the best, that desire for excellence in whatever they do is very important. Once you have that desire for excellence, that ambition, you back it up with capacity for critical thought, which requires continuous learning, you belong indeed to the future that we are trying to create. But aside of all of this, very importantly, and that is why I like the Honorable Minister of Education's desire to introduce ethics into our curriculum. We need to equip our people with the relevant social values. Social values that are very important in a world that is changing, in a world that is bringing different people together. The values of altruism, empathy are very important. Selflessness is very important. Tolerance, discipline, and honesty, that cannot be overemphasized. We know that one of the biggest challenges in our country is corruption, fueled by greed. And I'm happy that His Excellency has taken the fight against corruption very seriously. No matter what we do, if we allow as much leakage from the economy as corruption has demonstrated its ability to do recently, we would have difficulties. We need to kill corruption. We need to kill it very fast. And we need to instill in our people that value of discipline and honesty. Of course, we also need to inspire in them to accept responsibility, that willingness to think positively, and finally also that sense of gratitude that is very important. You know, if you have to remain patriotic, you have to be grateful for what your country has done for you. Again, that's why I like the idea of ethics and those patriotic things that our minister is trying to introduce. Your Excellency, at the end of the day, whatever we come up with in our declaration reform, our system, and then turn around to meet our changing needs. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, ultimately, we all share the responsibility of guides us on this journey so we can, at the end of the day, be proud of our accomplishments. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Honorable Minister, Honorable Regional Minister, Members of Parliament, Dr. Mamao, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Many striking parts of this very big opening address by our chairperson, including the fact that we have to build an educational system that grows critical thinkers. Shall we do one more big round of applause for our chairperson for today? And in the spirit of unity, I do realize on a very light note that the fans of Kumasi Asante Kotoko are also clapping for the board chairman of Accra Hearts of Oak. Your Excellency, good people of Ghana, ladies and gentlemen, manning the stage this afternoon for this crucial element of planning for our future in education are three people. By way of introduction, my name is Nathaniel Atto, and I'll be doing this together with Kafri Day and Jifa Homaku, who will be handling sign language. We are products of the educational system here in Ghana, and we couldn't be more excited at this big milestone that this nation has reached. This program is also live on MOE TV, which is the official television platform for the Ministry of Education, and also on the MOE platform on Facebook. It's also live on the Station of the Nation, GTV. And now at this time, it gives me great pleasure to welcome up here the man whose ministry is in charge of running this and ensuring that all the critical minds come together to plan critically for the future of our nation in education. He previously served as minority leader in the Parliament of Ghana and now has been given the big task and the responsibility of leading the education ministry. Your Excellency, good people of Ghana, please help me welcome Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, Minister of Education of Ghana.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Excellency John Dramani Mahama, our very able chairman, Togbe Apede, I want to thank you for accepting to chair this auspicious occasion of looking into Ghana's education and its future. The Honorable Regional Minister for the Volta region, the chairman and members of the National Education Forum Planning Committee, led by Professor George Odro, ministers of state present, members of parliament present, our development partners, and in particular the British High Commission, which has also generously supported this initiative. Christian faith organizations, including the Christian Council of Ghana, the Catholic Bishops' Conference, the Ahmadiyya Mission, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My task is a very simple one, to welcome you to the National Education Forum. Honorable Sir Tekpe, Presidential Advisor on the Economy. So I'll do just that. And then to the bureaucrats at the Ministry of Education, to the of his pledge to the Ghanaian people, keeping faith with the Ghanaians. So I describe him as the legacy president. He would lead by examples, set those examples so that in future presidents of Ghana can learn at least to honor their words with the electorate in Ghana. Free compulsory universal basic education. 30 years after the promulgation of the Constitution, where are we? Free senior high school, and the very difficult challenges of worn-down infrastructure, dilapidated infrastructure. When the country was busy, as Togbe observed, promising and running free senior high school, how ready are we even for our tertiary institutions to absorb the exponential increase in the numbers who want to taste higher education?
He is in the person of Professor Joseph Sairam Agbenyega. And he has 30 years experience in education. He is consulted across many sectors of the education sector and then many countries. Because we do not have much time, I can't read his profile in detail because that would take us a thesis of listening. On this note, I want to invite to the stage Professor Joseph Sairam Agbenyega.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to use existing protocol so that we can go straight to the matter of the day. I have prepared a long speech, but because of time, I have to cut it very short. First of all, some 24 years ago, I left the shores of Ghana after serving in the Ghana Education Service as a teacher for 11 years. But the reason for leaving was self-development and self-transformation, because I felt there is something that is missing in me to transform myself before you can transform education. Having been in Australia, there wasn't a single year I haven't been into Ghana. I always come every year to University of Cape Coast and also to University of Ghana to share ideas with my colleagues. So I am a Ghanaian, although I'm coming from the diaspora. There is one thing that I experienced in Australia. There are so many things, but I would only share one with you before I enter into the speech. Snakes in the classroom. When I went into Australia, I have to relearn how to teach Because if you don't know how to teach, you cannot advise a policymaker what will go into policy to make teaching effective. So on one of the routine teaching experiences in a year 9 classroom, it was time for me to teach biology. And this is about warm-blooded and cold-blooded animals. Then the principal said, Joseph, what are you going to teach? The snake man is coming. So the snake man arrived with a box. So they opened the box, and the box was full of different kinds of snakes. I was frozen to the core. Was really frozen. But the children that I'm supposed to teach, they were very happy, excited. They picked the snake and put it around their neck as a chain. And they were describing the feeling, the emotional feeling, the physical feeling that they get from the snake. But me as the teacher, I haven't had that feeling because of fear and terror. This is what is happening in many of our school systems in Ghana, where we don't teach, but we lecture our young children. And for that matter, our education system is not resulting in what Togbe has already described, critical thinkers. Now back to the theme of today. Transforming education for sustainable development or sustainable future. Now, I want to focus your attention a little bit that educational transformation is not exclusively a reform, because reform improves existing structures. For example, in a very tokenistic way, you touch on infrastructure, then you reform it a little bit, then you touch on teacher training a little bit, and that doesn't lead to any sustainable development or sustainable future. But action of reform and transformation is what leads to future or futures of a country. So what is transformation? What makes it so important in any educational endeavor? Transformation makes significant changes to the mindset of individual, the culture of individual, to improve access, equity, and full participation and impact, to transform existing beliefs, motivations, fears, because most of us are already afraid. How are we going to do this? And in the Ghanaian parlance, we said, oh, as for this one, it cannot happen in Ghana. So we have that kind of attitude. But as we move on, we will see that transforming education for sustainable future can happen in Ghana. Many people have talked about the problems of education in Ghana already, so I don't want to bore you. But just to give you a gist of what I see as the main problems: poor learning outcomes, and also students often struggle to attain the necessary learning when they should, delaying their transition to higher levels of education. While children in Ghana receive 12 years of schooling, the poor learning outcome means they only receive the equivalent of 6 learning adjusted years of schooling. This should concern all of us. Poor teaching quality and lack of care for teacher and student well-being is another problem. But all this, we can turn to example of some countries for answers, and also look within us to direct our path towards sustainable future through education. I don't want to take you through a series of examples, otherwise we will not live here today. I'll only touch a little bit on Australia education system and what makes the education system vibrant. One of the key ideas, or what makes Australian education system strong, is the development of ideology. We need, as a country, to have ideological purpose for education. All the countries that we can mention, Finland, Singapore, Malaysia, if you look at what makes their system very strong, is ideological purpose for education. That is, what kind of education system do we want for ourselves? What kind of future do we want for our children? And when we have a national ideology, no other government will come and change that ideology because it is entrenched in our core values. So Australia has that, and through that ideology, they have highly trained, supported, and lifelong learners. They also have a well-defined teacher career progressions. And this career progression for teachers is not based on age or the length of time you spend in the profession, but it is based on competency and what you can show and what development projects or transformation you are bringing into the education system. For example, when they finish training as a teacher, they call them graduate teachers. Then you become proficient teacher. Then you continue and you become highly accomplished teacher. Then the last one is a lead teacher. So a lead teacher is someone leading, so the Minister of Education doesn't have to tell you, this is how you do education, this is how you transform, because that person has passed through research and redevelopment of the self to become a lead teacher. And also beside that, the curriculum in Australia is very, very flexible and very diverse, so that everybody in that country, no matter your level of cognitive ability, you will find your pathway. His Excellency, Mr. President, I think if our education system becomes very flexible through redevelopment of curriculum in Ghana, we are halfway through with our problems. Another thing I would like to touch on is the development of a competency or national educators competency framework, which also guide Australia. And recently, I was involved in the development of a national competency framework for the United Arab Emirates and their Education 2075 year plan. And in this competency framework, there are four core pillars. The first one is ethical and accountable educator, as the Honorable Minister is championing ethics. So ethical and accountable educator. Then the second pillar in that framework is effective professional. The third one is future cultivator. And the final one is community collaborator. So education in the country, because they are trying to move away from the oil economy and to position themselves strongly for future shocks. So my question is that minds that are curious, confident, critical, and collaborative is what we need to be able to transform education for our future sustainability. Today's forum begins charting a potentially new and different course to develop new minds, the kind of minds that have an ability to conceptualize a future that has not yet appeared. So that is the agenda why we are here, to conceptualize an education future that has not yet appeared. But when we conceptualize it, we can perform it into being. That is our core. Education for sustainable future aims to empower people to tackle action towards a more sustainable future. And core components of this include knowledge, skills, values, attitudes, and behavior related to sustainable development. So looking beyond this, we come to the knowledge part. Because if we don't seek knowledge, there is no way we can transform education for sustainable future. So knowledge of life involves a deep understanding of sustainable development, its goals and principles, and the interconnectedness of social, economic, and environmental systems. For example, our place in the world. So what is the Ghanaian's place in the world? Is the Ghanaian place in the world to copy or to be corrupt or to say that we can't do it? So the only option for us is to run away from our problems. The second one is values. Without a strong values, we cannot transform education. The focus of values is on ethics, ethics of care, attitudes and behaviors that cultivate sense of responsibility, respect, care for the well-being of the ecosystem and its people. For example, environmental stewardship. Civic engagement, and so forth and so on. And one thing that I champion is ecological risk intelligence, which we'll come back to soon. So let me take you beyond this and touch on two important areas of how we can transform education in this country. Then after that, I'll give the goals of Ghana towards sustainable development through education. And finally, I will conclude with policy points that we can follow to make this happen. So this situation calls for future-scaping, that is transforming education system for future children or future generation that is sustainable, call for future-scaping and future-proofing. All right, so future-scaping describe imagining futures shaped by our past and present experiences, and future-scaping, the past is dialectically related to seeking better futures for ourselves and for our children and the children and children to come. Future-scaping the present is an act of nurturing life to flourish. In this sense, future-scaping education for sustainable future is a transformative, multi-dimensional act which is dynamic, culturally value-laden, historically embedded, futuristic, and provide unique affordance for social goods. Now back to future-proofing education. Future-proofing is anticipating future shocks and stresses and striving to minimize the potential negative effect. The OECD defines future-proofing as stress testing exercise or proposed strategies and policies. Let me give you an example of how we can future-proof the free HS. For example, let's say, for example, we have 5 million students today. Then we have to model, double the number, 10 million, then 15 million. Can the current system sustain it? That is a future-proofing question. So in Australia, for example, although an affluent country, education is not totally free. Those who can afford contribute some money into the education system so that it supports the poor people to have it for free. So we can even develop a 3-tier system where the affluent will pay for everything. Second-tier system where those who are in the middle income level will pay something small, and those who are in the lower tier will pay nothing at all. That will make us future-proof education for sustainable future for our children. Without this, the system will crash. If you model it and double the student numbers, because in the Ghanaian society, because of the way our attitude is, sometimes it is free. So this is an opportunity to give a lot of children and burden the government. I don't have to pay anything. But bearing children comes with responsibility. But we are running away from the responsibility. But in Australian society, every citizen is a partner to education, not only government. Now, because of time, I am jumping a lot of things, but maybe later on I can chat with the minister about certain details that we can touch on so that our country become a vibrant society. Okay, sorry for the disturbance of the mic. So as we gathered here today, we have high aspirations for transforming the Ghanaian education system. But aspirations and imagination are linked as both future-oriented. We must recognize aspiration as a collective cultural capacity that rests not purely on individual motivation, but a collective act. According to Anagos, envisioning the future becomes a performative process that powerfully shapes the present and the future. I wanted to give you an example of a Korean Airlines and how that touched on our attitude and the dogma of this is how we do things here. In the Ghanaian system, who are you to tell me how to do it? I've been here a long time before you. That kind of relationship, it doesn't actually favor us to go anywhere. So we keep on revolving around the same problem because of attitude, a lack of attitudinal change in the workplace. So a Korean airline lost at least 6 other planes, and before that, there was a plane, let me see the plane, the flight number. So in 1997, the crash of Korean Airline Flight 801 make a well report. The pilot was experienced and in good health. The aircraft was in perfect working condition. The flight approached Guam. The ground proximity warning system alerted the pilot that the plane was within 500 feet of the ground. Unable to see, the pilot was flying, so he couldn't see. So the co-pilot alerted the captain, oh, we are in danger. But the captain didn't listen because of the junior rank. And before they realized, the plane is already on the ground, crashed onto the ground. And there were 6 crashes before that one. So the crash investigators went into the history of the training, how the Korean pilots were being trained. And they discovered that there is top-down relationship. So a junior cannot speak up to a superior. And so when there is a problem, instead of collaborating and solving problems, they were fighting among themselves. Who are you to tell me what to do? All right. And then so they have to re-educate. They send them to a re-education camp to retrain them, to develop new attitude and new mindset. Our major problem in Ghana is not money. It is an attitudinal problem. And if we can change attitude, the rest will be easy for us. I have learned attitude. Do away with all the attitude that I was taught, because as I started my speech, We cane, we teach, and then we use the cane, and the cane is what try to correct the child or to make the child learn. But in another system, they don't use the cane, but children are learning and producing more skills. So attitudinal change of this pilot, when they were retrained, since then, they had a very, very good record of flying. So now, coming back, what we must do. First of all, I am sure many of our school system, thank you, are in danger because of learning embargoes we impose upon them by our attitude. So what we need to do first is strong partnerships. Then strong partnership with families, organizations, and also the second thing to do, research. We must take research seriously and then follow it by educating curious mind. Apart from that, we have to also move ahead with the following goals, and then I will end. Goal 1 for Ghana. The Ghanaian education system will nurture ethical, culturally responsive citizens who integrate cutting-edge technology, champion excellence and equity. Goal 2. All Ghanaian citizens will be well-informed, confident and creative, empathically responsive and respectful, embrace lifelong learning, and actively participate in their community. The third goal, or final goal, all Ghanaian citizens are enterprising, resilient, and ambitious, and apply their knowledge to benefit themselves and society. So, to end, there are some actionable policy points which I will discuss with the minister later on. In closing, we must dare to dream. We must dare to dream big for education and country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Agbanyega. Quick acknowledgements to the administrator of the GET Fund, Mr. Paul Ajay, who is here. Good to see you here. And the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Nana Abba Apia Amfo. Good to have you. Mr. President, thank you for your time. We have just the briefest of presentations, and this is from Professor Kwame Achampong, who has put forward his flight a couple of times just to be here to speak. He's Professor of Institutional Education, and he has a career spanning over 30 years. Let's welcome Professor Achampong for a brief presentation on increasing access to quality education for marginalized groups. Professor Achampong.
Thank you very much, and I know that time is against us. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, Honorable Minister of Education, His Royal Highness Togbe Afede, Ministers of State, Directors, and all protocol observed. The call by His Excellency, President Mahama, to convene a forum that will review Ghana's education system could not have come at a more opportune time. When I was given the topic to speak on improving access to quality education of marginalized groups, I reflected and wondered why this theme was chosen. Any who have been a history of education in Ghana and of our politics would realize and recognize that the National Democratic Party is as a party and a government that stays true to the disadvantaged and to the marginalized in society. And so I want to commend His Excellency for reminding us that we cannot develop whilst we leave most of our citizens behind. So I welcome this theme of the President, and I think that we have done a great thing to include this. Improving the lives of every Ghanaian child has to be based on equitable access to quality education at all levels, and implies that we prioritize the educational needs of the most marginalized and disadvantaged children in our country. Right across Ghana are talents that a quality education can unearth and harness for our development. Unfortunately, often we have gone on a development trajectory that leaves millions of our citizens behind. And because of that, we are losing the potential, the contribution that they can make to our development. We have created two worlds of education in Ghana, one for the relatively well-off and one for the poor and disadvantaged. And over the last 2 decades, we have seen an avalanche of research that has confirmed this relative bifurcation of learning worlds, one in which education policies do not sufficiently prioritize the educational needs of marginalized groups. Your Excellency, I think we have to ask ourselves a fundamental question. As we think about how we transform our education system, we have to think about how well we can use the limited resources to maximize the benefits of our investment. And I want to submit to this forum that one of the ways we can do that is to ensure that we prioritize in all the policies and programs that we introduce the marginalized and the disadvantaged. And let me state it very clearly. I have worked in many, many countries, and I lead many global education committees. One of the things that I have not realized or seen anywhere is a country that develops and leaves most of its people behind. Any development that helps the advantage, pushes the advantage, and leaves most of our citizens behind is not development. No country has done that. And that is why I think this recognition by His Excellency reflects the journey that countries that have moved from low middle income to middle income countries to status to high income. This is very important for us to take into account. We cannot speak of educational progress if that progress widens the learning achievement gap between those who are getting good education and those who are not. There are financial costs to not focusing on equity. And that is why I'm pleased that this is a theme of this meeting. It is imperative that we prioritize marginalized groups and areas of our country that need significant more investment. Whatever we do to improve quality of education at all levels, we must ask ourselves, who is it benefiting and who is losing out? And I think this is important. The talent pool we have has to be widened. And if we have to widen the talent pool, we have to include many of our children who are who are not receiving quality education. The fourth United Nations Sustainable Development Goals calls for inclusive, equitable, and quality education. This is a call to prioritize poor, marginalized children and youth, those who are out of school or at the bottom of the learning pyramid. We are confronted with a fundamental question. How can we promote greater inclusion and improve learning quality as part of our commitment to SDG 4? I also suggest that we do two things. We raise the floor of learning outcomes for the poor, rather than focusing on national scores. We also close the gap in learning disparities between those at the bottom and those at the top. His Excellency, in our deliberations and consultation, we should think of incentive structures and cost-effective practices that would ensure that the schools serving disadvantaged districts receive a fair share of good quality teachers, as South Korea did. One of the things that is remarkable about South Korea is that they ensure that to improve education, irrespective of where you are, you get a good share of good quality education. Any incentive structure that we can put in place to make sure that every child, no matter where you are in Ghana, gets the best teachers, I think is something we should focus on. Because of time constraints, I want to skip a few points, but there's something that we cannot ignore, and I think it has been mentioned by the other speakers. We have a financing challenge. The resources we have for education are not infinite. So we have to find a way of utilizing this to the best of our advantage. Let me turn our attention to the challenge that confronts us, which is at the heart of the topic of this keynote. Ghana's education resources, according to several analyses, are disproportionately allocated to secondary and tertiary levels. Currently, about 1/4 of government education spending goes to pre-primary and primary schools. And at primary level, Ghana's spending per student as a percentage of per capita GDP is just over half the average of aspirational peers. Ghana spends more on its comparators on secondary education and tertiary education. But we are faced with a stark choice when it comes to free SHS, and it's something that we have all been talking about. How do we continue with the free SHS policy whilst ensuring that it is pro-poor, financially sustainable, and gives us value for money in terms of productive skills for work and further training? Let me share just 3 brief points from an excellent thesis that one of my students has just produced. When I asked her to look at the free HSS and its implementation, just briefly. One is that, first, students and their parents are still incurring significant costs under the free HSS. Okay? I think this is very important to recognize that. Despite the complete removal of school fees, households continue to make large out-of-pocket payments for education, notably for food and lodging expenses. Second, free SHS may satisfy the principle of equality of access, but it is failing the principle of equitable access to quality. Why? Because of inequitable access to resources, infrastructure, teaching and learning materials. Okay? These are important. You cannot talk about free SHS when you don't fix these issues, because it will lead to inequitable quality of access. The result is that experiences and outcomes of free HSS are also inequitable, raising questions about whether we are achieving the returns to the huge investments that as a nation we make to fund free SHS. The point is this: if free SHS is increasing access that does not maximize the benefits for marginalized and disadvantaged groups, then the return to investment is limited at both personal and national level. I think this is something that we have to bear in mind. As I approach the concluding sections of my presentation, I want to make a couple of quick observations. I hope that we critically examine all sectors of our education system so that it will allow us to understand clearly where we can improve access to disadvantaged groups. We should be guided by the evidence and not simply by the ideology. And I'm pleased that this forum is taking evidence very seriously. We should, however, not implement free SHS in a way which on the face of it appears to benefit the poor, which in actual fact is a subsidy for the rich. Education reforms in Ghana in the 90s and 80s have shown that improving access to poor quality basic education would not yield the private and social returns to investments. His Excellency, we should not be afraid to confront the issue. And I am pleased that we have a consultative process that will bring minds to think about this issue and to guide your government. I find it puzzling that even in rich countries, as our first speaker said, do not provide free for everything, even for rich countries. We should not be apologetic. We should be pragmatic. What is it that can work for Ghana? Keeping in mind that we want to get the talent pool that can provide development for us. Let me give you a quick example. If you have 5 children in your house, and then you decide that you are going to spend 80% of your income on the first one, I'm sure there will be a fight in the house. It's exactly what we do. We are spending a lot of our resources for the advantage and leaving many children who can contribute to our development behind. And like I said, I think this is what this government is known for in terms of correcting that. And I'm pleased that they've made that a cardinal point of their strategy. Finally, let me get to a few points about moving forward. Ghana has accumulated a wealth of knowledge and experiences from years of education reforms. On average, we have introduced 5 reforms We have introduced reforms every 5 years since our independence. If you look, every 5 years, we have a new idea. But it is how we utilize evidence and knowledge from the past that will determine whether this time we make education work for our development. Although access to all levels of education has improved, we cannot say the same for access to quality of education. We have a responsibility and opportunity to change this narrative. Even though the education strategy plan calls for improved access to teaching and learning materials, we still have pupils to textbook ratios which do not meet these norms. Your Excellency, let me conclude with a call to this education forum to be guided by the global evidence of what works. We cannot do anything that shows that we are different and will succeed. We should learn from what has happened elsewhere. And there are five things that I want to submit to the forum. First, we have to anchor our recommendation in evidence. I hope, Honorable Minister of Education, the recommendations that will come from this forum, one of the questions you will ask is, what's the evidence behind it? Okay, it's very important. No sentiments about this. What is the evidence behind this that will guide us? Successful school systems ground changes in the classroom. Okay, if you want change, it has to happen in the classroom. Focusing first and foremost on teachers and the context in which they work. We must also use technology. This point has been made. Secondly, we have to build a durable coalition for change by focusing on a few coherent priorities. We cannot have 100 priorities. Mr. President, I want to encourage your government and your minister to be very clear and unapologetic about the priorities that you've chosen, because it is what will determine how successful this forum and its agenda becomes. Rallying stakeholders around these priorities is important, and that is why I am pleased that this forum has taken an approach which is intended to rally stakeholders. You need stakeholders to be with you, and I'm pleased that this is happening. The third thing, we should create delivery capacity to scale. The challenge is enormous, so we are looking at scale to maximize investments and outcomes. We should move very quickly from strategy to implementation. Once we get the report on what to do, we are on for implementation. We should make sure that as we look at the implementation, we are also checking to see whether we are on track. And then fourthly, we should drive and adapt with data. I think this is very important. This has been mentioned. And then fifthly, we have to, given the constraints on public resources available for education, we need a medium to long-term planning framework. I am pleased that this government has initiated this national consultation process to determine how best we can harness the potential of inclusive education for our development. On March 5th, 1957, Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, addressed the old Legislative Assembly for the last time and outlined his government's vision, which had education at the center. And I want to recall that because I believe what we are witnessing today is as momentous as what President Nkrumah did. And I want us to believe, let us not look at this event as one of those reforms that we are doing. The president has put he's made a promise to the nation. It is a call for us to respond in the way in which President Nkrumah presented his agenda. To remind ourselves of what Nkrumah said and the policies and strategies his government pursued, which I think is in line with what we are doing. So finally, he said, education for the newly independent Ghana is to achieve 3 goals. First, it is to be used as a tool for producing highly literate population. We have a problem at the basic level. Many of our children are getting to upper primary and secondary who are not very literate. We cannot build a good quality secondary education with a weak foundation. It is very important. And Mr. President and Honorable Minister, I want to encourage you, much as we look at secondary, I know secondary free SHS has occupied our minds. Let us not put all our efforts into that and forget basic. Because whatever we do at senior high school, if the foundation is weak, you are going to produce people who cannot find jobs, who cannot do anything. So I would suggest that we do that. And then, second, Nkrumah said it was to be used as a vehicle, as a vehicle for improved productivity. And third, it was to be used to harness Ghana's economic potential. We stand at the cusp of a very important time. And I'm pleased, Mr. President, His Excellency, you have called us to address this challenge. And you have made education the pinnacle of your effort. In all the countries that have made good progress, education has been given the highest priority. And you have signaled to the nation that your agenda includes a prioritization of education. We have an opportunity to reclaim the promise of education that His Excellency President John Mahama has initiated. It is our patriotic duty to use this opportunity to make education work for all, for the prosperity of our country. May God bless His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana. May God bless us all. Thank you very much.
We're very grateful to you, Professor Champong, for challenging our thoughts and also giving encouragement that all these conversations end up in ensuring that resources are spread across all the sectors of our education and all tiers of our education. Shall we appreciate him with another round of applause? The Honorable Minister of Education is supported here by his Deputy Designate, Honorable Clement Apak. Shall we put our hands together for him? Mr. Prince Kofi Klujesin, who is also a big name in the tech space, is also here to support us. We're grateful to you. Honorable Seth Tekpe, thank you so much for all the massive support you are giving to His Excellency. And now, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're ready for the message that will challenge our thoughts and to set us on a plane to bring all the creative ideas to ensure that we're leaving with a blueprint that will set us on a place to truly reform our educational sector. Helping us to welcome the first gentleman of the land, it's my great pleasure to welcome here to the stage the Honorable Minister for the Volta region, the host region for this forum. Shall we welcome with a big round of applause Honorable the Volta Regional Minister. Shall we welcome him with a bigger round of applause?
His Excellency, the President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the Agbogbo Mafia of the Asogli State, Togbe Apede the 14th, the Honorable Minister of Education, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, distinguished invited guests, every protocol duly observed. I want to, on behalf of the chiefs and the people of the region, welcome all of you to the regional capital, also known as the Oxygen City. The occasion and the venue is so significant to the extent that even as our educational system needs some oxygen to survive, the organizers have decided to bring this program to the Oxygen City. So you are at the right place. This particular event falls or cuts across my 3-point agenda for the region. The first one is to ensure peace and security for this dear part of our country in order to make the region the best destination for investment. And I remember growing as a young person where we had to close down our school because of war in some part of this region. And I had to go and end my middle school living certificate somewhere in a farm place called Mataheko. So peace and security is key for education development as well. The second one is building the capacities of district assemblies to deliver on their core mandate, including local economic development, job creation, and access to quality education. The third one, which is the last one, is to collaborate with the ministries, agencies, departments, development partners, etc., to ensure that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama's vision and development agenda for the region is realized. And we are here because of this collaboration. And the visionary leader himself, the nation builder himself, is here. In order not to bore you too much, I want to humbly invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic, John Dramani Mahama, to deliver his address. Thank you very much. Akpenami, miawezo, miaweva doge.
Thank you very much. Kindly be seated. Let me begin by recognizing a few people. Togbi Afede, the 14th of the Asogli States and chairman of the occasion. Togbi Mamau, the Honorable Minister of Education, the Regional Minister, Chairman of the National Education Forum Planning Committee, Professor Odro, the Vice Chancellors of the various tertiary universities, the Director Generals of GES, GTEC, NACA, members of the clergy, especially the Most Reverend Emmanuel Kofi Fianu, Catholic Bishop of the whole diocese, and indeed all the distinguished persons who have gathered here today, this morning, to fulfill what is a very important exercise for our nation. I want to commend the two resource persons who have just presented. I'm happy that I had the opportunity to sit in their presentations. And if this is the quality of the presentations we're going to have, then I'm sure that the outcome of this forum is going to be important. But first, let me express my sincerest apologies on behalf of the Planning Committee of the Forum to our stakeholders of the faith-based organizations for the unpardonable omission committed in your delayed invitation to this forum. I am aware that the omission was very speedily remedied, but you still deserve an unqualified apology for this oversight. And since you are the purveyors of God's mercy on earth, I'm sure that you are forgiving us. Thank you very much. And we know you are important stakeholders because you own some of the schools, and so this educational forum is important to see how we carry everybody together. So today we begin an important journey of consensus building on an important sector, and that is education. For many years, we've watched the standards of our education suffer significant decline, and we have individually and collectively expressed our various views on how we believe the problems bedeviling the education sector can be addressed. What we have however lacked has been a unified platform on which the various shades of opinion and perspectives can be put into a melting pot and distilled to yield the most optimal outcomes for our children. In the years preceding my coming into office, I had indicated my desire to convene a national dialogue on the best approach to giving Ghanaian children a shot at a better life through quality and relevant education. I committed to ensuring that all who are concerned about education in Ghana have an opportunity to contribute meaningfully to shaping the policies and programs that will deliver the kind of education we all want. I'm gratified that this has become a reality, and I stand before you today to officially open the National Education Consultative Forum with great pleasure and a deep sense of purpose. This moment marks a significant step in fulfilling one of the commitments of our 120-day social contract with the good people of Ghana, a commitment to build consensus on the urgent and necessary reforms needed to reset our education sector. Education is not just a tool for personal development, it is the bedrock upon which the progress and prosperity of any nation rests. It defines the present and determines the future of our country. Education must remain a tool for empowerment, equality, and transformation in Ghana. It is also an important instrument for social mobility. It must inspire hope and deliver opportunity for all, whether you're born in Accra or the most remotest part of our nation. We recognize that the education system we inherited has not kept pace with the needs of 21st century society and the fourth industrial revolution. As the world evolves, so must our education system, because what worked in the past no longer suffices for the challenges and opportunities of today and tomorrow. It is this realization that has brought us together here today, united in our belief that education reform is just not an option, but a necessity. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Consultative Forum on Education is a platform to bring all stakeholders to the table: governments, policymakers, teachers, students, parents, traditional leaders, religious leaders, political party representatives, development partners, and all members of civil society. We are here because we recognize that the task of reimagining Ghana's education system is not one that any single entity can do alone. Education reform is a shared responsibility. It is a collective journey that requires all voices, all perspectives, and all hands on deck. This consultative process, I believe, will bring out the best solutions born out of dialogue, partnership, and mutual understanding to deal with our current and future challenges. Our goal today is to engage in an honest and productive discussion about the current state of education in Ghana, to diagnose the challenges and craft a bold and actionable roadmap for reform. Dr. Chairman, the current challenges facing our educational system require strategic priorities, fresh solutions derived from objective and non-partisan interrogation of issues, and a renewed sense of urgency. The moment to act together is here and now. And we must use this forum to answer critical questions such as: how do we ensure that every child in Ghana receives quality education regardless of where they are born or live? How do we equip our schools and teachers with the necessary tools and resources to succeed in providing a quality education? How do we close the gaps in foundational learning and prepare our students for further studies, the world of work, and the opportunities of the future? How do we ensure innovative pedagogies, inclusive, engaging, and adaptive pedagogies framed around social emotional learning and universal design for learning, which are central to our teachers' classroom practice? How do we develop an assessment system that promotes critical thinking, problem solving, and not just regurgitation of what was learned? How do we bring back autonomy to school leaders against mutually agreed performance standards? How do we remove excessive political interference in the governance of our education system? How do we ensure adequate and sustainable financing for education? I had a bit of yeah with the political interference. I said that the second Independence Day for the education system has come. You can express your opinions freely now. How do we ensure adequate and sustainable financing for education? How do we achieve innovative infrastructure provision at optimal cost? How do we provide our students with the technical and vocational skills to be able to enter the world of work? Where do we place moral education, patriotism, and proper family values in our educational curriculum? How do we increase the role of faith-based organizations in the management of their schools? Your Eminence, Togbi Afede, these and many more questions are the ones that we expect you to focus on and provide us answers and a roadmap. Ladies and gentlemen, at the center of the issues associated with the aforementioned questions is the big question of how to ensure provision of a balanced education for Ghana's children and our young people, an education that transforms them into globally competitive citizens. An education system that prepares them adequately and nurtures them as Ghanaians with uncompromising values and character qualities of honesty, creativity, and responsible citizenship, and with the 21st century skills of problem solving and critical thinking. An education system that ensures that our leaders by age 10 are well-grounded and proficient in language literacy, mathematics literacy, scientific literacy, and cultural literacy as the foundation for their future learning. As we all as stakeholders ponder over educational issues across basic, secondary, and tertiary education, we must remember that quality education does not only focus on developing the intellect of pupils, but ensures holistic personality development of the child. It develops his heart, his mind, and his hand for the benefit of himself and for the larger society. The mind promotes critical thinking and creativity necessary for productive decision-making. The heart promotes moral, emotional, and social orientation necessary for strengthening of our societal and family values, social cohesion, and mutual respect, while the hand develops in learners skills and practical competencies necessary for building and strengthening our service and productive sectors of our economy. It is for this reason that I agree with Ellen G. White, the American author, when she says that, and I quote, "Our education takes too narrow and too low a range. There's a need for a broader scope, a higher aim. True education means more than just the pursuit of a certain course of study. It means more than a preparation for the life that now is. It has to do with the whole being and with the whole period of existence possible to man. It refers to lifelong learning. It is the harmonious development of the physical and mental. It prepares the student for the joy of service in this world," unquote. Our education must prepare our students for service. That is the task we have, and by finding answers to the questions above and others, that will inform the discourses of this forum. It must be our collective responsibility to make recommendations that are far-reaching, that are transformative, and necessary for developing the global Ghanaian. There is a call to action for every stakeholder here today, and every Ghanaian across the country and in the diaspora. Their future depends on the decision we make and the actions we take today. And I'm happy that some of our members, our citizens from the diaspora, like Professor Champong, have come all the way to come and join us at this forum. And also Professor Benyega, all the way from Australia. You're all welcome. As a government, we are fully committed to this process, and the outcomes of this conference, I assure you that your recommendations are not going to gather dust on a shelf. They will not become symbolic recommendations, but they will form the foundation of a comprehensive reform agenda to build an inclusive, equitable, and transformative education system for Ghana and for the benefit of all Ghanaians. And so we'll prioritize the actionable reforms proposed here with clear timelines and measurable outcomes to guide our steps. Regular updates on progress will be shared with the public to build trust and transparency. We'll increase the allocation of resources to critical areas, including foundational learning, with a focus on the 4 literacies that I talked about: language, mathematics, science, and culture. Teacher education and capacity development would also receive attention. infrastructure development, and education technology also included. Deepen partnership with parents, traditional authority, and local communities, and I'm happy that the Honorable Education Minister has already announced that PTAs can engage with schools to ensure that the children, the schools are properly managed. And so PTAs can start to do their work by engaging with the schools so that we deepen management of the schools. So deepen partnerships with parents, traditional authorities, and local communities to support every child's learning journey through the practice of learning teams. To ensure that school leaders have the autonomy to perform their duties against a national school leader standard, that we shall work with stakeholders, including the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools and other teachers' union, to develop. To prioritize research and research evidence for decision making. We will also continue with the teacher transformation work we started in 2014 under the TTEL project, and ensure that the same transformation is carried out across all sectors of education system, including TVET. Ladies and gentlemen, as we embark on this important dialogue, let us not lose sight of the bigger picture. The task before us is not just about fixing what is broken, but about building an education system that is fit for purpose in our today's dynamic world. Let us envision an education system where every child, regardless of their background, has the opportunity to achieve their full potential. Let us envision an education system where teachers are celebrated, supported, and empowered to inspire the next generation. Let us envision an education system where schools are the centers of innovation and learning, and that prepares students not just for exams, but for lifelong learning. This is a vision that must drive our discussions and decisions today and tomorrow over the course of this forum. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as I declare this National Consultative Forum on Education officially open, I urge each of you to approach this task with objectivity, courage, creativity, and an unwavering commitment to the future of our nation. Let us be bold in our ideas, collaborative in our approach, and relentless in our pursuit of excellence. Together we can build an education system that resonates with the aspirations of ordinary Ghanaians and prepares our nation for the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. The future of this country is in our hands. Let us seize this moment and work together to create a legacy of hope, opportunity, and transformation for future generations. One resolution at a time, one transformation at a time, Ghana will win in developing this country's young people for service. On this note, Togbi Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I declare the National Consultative Forum on Education duly launched. May God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong. I thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, the President of the Republic and Commander-in-Chief of Ghana Armed Forces, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, for agreeing to be our special guest of honor and the National Education Forum. Kindly take your seats. Thank you. We're live on MOE TV, on GTV, and on Join News. And Mr. President, earlier on you said the future is in our hands. The future, Mr. President, is also in this hall because we have students from Mauli School who are here in the corner. Mauli, just give us a wave. There they are. And they represent the education that we want to transform for a sustainable future. So thank you for making time to be here with us. Our chairperson will now deliver his closing remarks. Let's welcome Toby Apete, Uenelia, the Agbobimafia of Asogli State.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic, thanks for the great inspiration. I know you have to be in Accra for other duties, so I'll take only 2 minutes. Thanks for the very inspiring message, Your Excellency. You've acknowledged, as we all recognize, the quality of the presentations. That was quite inspiring. And we've seen where all this came from. You are aware of the lack of platform in the past for dialoguing, and you provided that for us. We thank you so much. I'm happy you've assured us government intends to take the recommendations from here very seriously. They will not sit anywhere and gather dust. And thank you. And I'm glad that the purpose of all of this, your vision, is to prepare Ghanaians for lifelong learning. Yeah. Our Minister of Education started the ball rolling by telling us what all this is all about. And we had great presentations from our professors. Professor Agbenyegan shared with us experiences from Australia, great. From Saudi Arabia, also excellent. And experiences from Korea. We are very grateful for all of that. Professor Champong also emphasized to us the need for equity, inclusiveness, and the need to provide incentives to make that possible, to give access to all, including in particular the disadvantaged in our society. He identified very nicely that things that we face, among others, lack of resources or inadequacy of resources. And also, shared with us some very important recommendations, in particular the fact that we need to have our recommendations so we can have reason to believe in them. The need to have priorities, the need to have all stakeholders, involved, and of course the importance of implementation, which luckily the President of the Republic has assured us that, unlike other things I've experienced in the past, the recommendation from here would not sit anywhere and gather that or get a full benefits from them. I want to thank His Excellency once again for this great opportunity. Education, we've all accepted, is what we need to unlock the potentials of our country now and into the future. Thank you for the opportunity to be the chairman of this great occasion. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, good people of Ghana, ladies and gentlemen. Aside his sterling credentials as an entrepreneur, the Agbogbo Mafia, Togbu Apoda the 14th, is a custodian of culture. In our culture, and by our norms and by our values, anytime someone does something, no matter how small, no matter how big, it's important that we say thank you to them. We will adhere to this norm and this value greatly this afternoon. And it's on that note that I'd like to welcome up here with great respect Professor Goski Alabi to symbolically thank all of us for being a part of this opening ceremony. Shall we welcome her with a big round of applause?
Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, His Royal Highness Togbe Afedi the 14th, Honorable Ministers of State, parliamentarians, distinguished guests, eminent academics, partner education, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the media. On behalf of the visioneer and organizers of the National Education Forum, and all gathered here, I stand before you with immense humility and gratitude. Firstly, To His Excellency the President, we extend our deepest appreciation for your presence, for finding time on your very busy schedule to be here with us today. And also for your reaffirmed vision for a sustainable and transformative future for Ghana's youth. This inspires us a lot. It is a testament of your commitment to your promise. To our distinguished chairperson, His Excellency, His Royal Highness Togbe Afedi XIV, your leadership and wisdom have guided this event with grace. We are grateful for your stewardship and unwavering support. To our esteemed keynote speakers, Prof. Joseph Agminyaga and Prof. Kwame Achampong, thank you for sharing your insights with us on transforming education for sustainable future in Ghana, and for shedding light on increasing access to quality education for all, particularly the marginalized groups. Your words have set the stage for critical discussions in the days ahead and to shape the agenda ahead. To the Honorable Minister of Education, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, and all government officials present, we appreciate your dedication to ensuring that Ghana's education system continues to evolve to meet the needs and demands of the future. To our moderators, presenters, and panelists, we say thank you for facilitating today's discussion with excellence. Your contributions have helped shape the discourse that will inform the future of Ghana's education. To our partners, educational institutions, corporate bodies, NGOs, and in particular, the faith-based organizations, as well as our friends of the media. Your support has been invaluable in bringing this event to life. We recognize your continuous collaboration in advancing education in Ghana. A special thank to the organizers, the Secretariat, the Ministry of Education in particular, the Volta Serene Hotel staff, and everyone working behind the scenes to ensure the smooth running of this forum. Your dedication has not gone unnoticed. And finally, to all our distinguished guests and participants, this couldn't have been a success without you. Thank you for being here, for engaging meaningfully, and for committing to the shared vision on education systems that prepares our youth for lifelong learning, for work, and for responsible citizenship. As we move forward with our breakout sessions and discussions, let us remember that the future of Ghana's education depends on all of us. It is our collective effort. May the good ideas generated from here lead to real transformative change in Ghana's education. Thank you all, and may God bless us all as we have a productive and successful forum. Thank you.
We're very grateful to you, Prof. Shall we do a big round of applause for her? At this stage, we're all looking forward to the eventual execution of this forum, which will result in the production of a blueprint. And I believe that one arm of government, which will be key in executing this, will be Parliament. Parliament is represented today by 6 members of Parliament. I'd like to acknowledge and thank Honorable Nochu Kotoy, Member of Parliament for Akachi North. Shall we do a big round of applause? Honorable Alhaj Al-Hassan Mumuni, of the Salaga North constituency. Shall we do a big round of applause? Honorable Professor Hamza Adam, MP for Kumbungu. Honorable Joseph Kwame Kuma, MP for Kintampo North. Shall we do a big round of applause? Honorable Eric Edem Agbana of the Ketu North constituency, one of the youngest members of parliament, and also former MP for the Bia West constituency, Honorable Dr. Augustine Teria. Thank you so much for the massive support given to His Excellency and this big forum. Just before the prayer, I'd like to respectfully invite up here a member of the committee, Dr. Samuel Wuku, to give us brief announcements.
National
course observed. From here, we will be going for lunch, but before that, just for the information of the general public, that this is just the beginning of our engagement with citizens. Until the end of this month, there will be various engagements across the country. We will be in Accra on Friday, at the same time in Cape Coast. Accra will be serving Greater Accra and the Eastern region, and the Cape Coast will be Central region and Western region. On the 24th, we'll be in Bolga. That will be serving Upper West, Upper East and Northeast. And then we'll be in Sunyani on 24th as well. That will be Western North, Bono, Ahafo, and Bono East. Then on 26th, we'll be in Tamale. That will be for Upper West, Savannah, and Northern. And then on the same day, 26th February, we'll be in Kumasi. And then 27th, 28th, we'll be back in Accra. That will be national validation. During that time as well, in the evenings, we'll be engaging with our diaspora group online. And a day is also set for us to engage with citizens who could not make it to any of the sessions online. In addition to that, there are some special groups that will be meeting as well. We'll be visiting their offices. We'll be visiting our bishops. Basically, I think they own about 50% of the schools in this country. So if we don't visit them, that will be a great mistake on our part. So we'll be visiting them. We'll also be visiting the teacher unions because they play a great role in our education activities. And to be honest, can I confess here that I'm a union person as well? And I know the roles we play. So we'll be engaging with all the unions as well. And TUC will also be engaged. We'll be visiting their offices to get their opinions. We have also received a lot of submission papers at the moment. As at 8 a.m. this morning, we received about 1,051. And we've also received, that's from groups as well. We have about 20, 25 serious papers submitted. So the committee will be inviting some of those owners of the papers as well to come and meet us and share their perspective. So the conversation continues. If you have anything to say, to submit, please send it to nef@moe.gov.gh. We will receive it and we will respond to that. This morning, we've also given you a survey, QR code. If not completed it yet, please do that. Those are specifically on free SHS, right? Please let your voice be heard. Do not say tomorrow that, had I known, I would have said it. The next time I check, I was told that would be Mr. Too Late. Thank you very much. And we will go for lunch. And when we come back from lunch, there are 5 breakout rooms. You know your interest, right? You know your interest. We will direct you to where your interest is. If it's for infrastructure, educational infrastructure, you go to the room for educational infrastructure. If you want to go for education quality provision, you want to talk about equity, curriculum reforms, assessment reforms, pedagogy, school leadership, go to education provision. And then if we, education finance, you go to that room. And then if it is for regulatory system accountability and governance, go to that room, and if it's for research evidence, for decision making, you go to those rooms. So we have 5 transformation pillars. Please make yourself available to any of them, and you stay there. Tomorrow too, you stay there. If you want to get out, you meet me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Awuku, for those announcements. We're going to have our closing prayer, but before that, I'll respectfully request His Excellency the President, our Chairman, Togbe Chair, the Minister for Education, the Volta Regional Minister, for just a photo. Okay, all right. So we'll have Malvi Togbe Afede, sorry, Malvi Abdul Rahman Yahya. I'm mixing Islam with tradition. Malvi Abdul Rahman Yahya of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission. This is what happens when you're hungry. So it means lunch is around the corner.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon. Please, shall you all join me in prayers? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم إني أعوذ بك من جهد البلاء ودرك الشقاء وسوء القضاء وشماتة الأعداء ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم آمين.
And on that note, we respectfully invite His Excellency, the Honorable Minister, Togbe Chair, the Regional Minister, and members of the Planning Committee.
National Education Forum calling. Let your voice be heard on education in Ghana. Send your inputs to the National Education Forum Planning Committee via nef@moe.gov.gh. National Education Forum, transforming education. Let's build Ghana together.